You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, 13th day of December, 2022. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We actually do 2 live broadcasts each and every day. The first live broadcast is from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern every trading day. That is our live training room, which is reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you've not yet taken your 1-week free trial, no credit card required. In a few minutes, Michael will come on and he'll show you exactly how to do that. And unlike other trials you may have taken, with our trial, we treat you exactly like a member for 5 consecutive trading days. So it doesn't matter what day of the week you start your free trial. You'll get 5 consecutive days in the live training room with access to all of the resources, from the alerts to the zones to the live training room to one-on-one mentoring sessions to group conversation, everything. We do that because we want you to be able to make a well-informed and intelligent decision at the end of your trial if what we do is right for you. Now, our second live broadcast of the day, which is the one you're listening to right now, begins at 12 noon Eastern every trading day. And there are 2 different ways to join the afternoon broadcast, which is open to the public. That means anybody, anywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device, a phone, a tablet, a PC, even a Mac. Now, there's 2 ways to join. The best way I'll give you first. And you only have to do this once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down to where it says Afternoon Broadcast. Click the link. Complete the 30-second registration form. And then every trading day going forward, you'll receive an email right before the afternoon broadcast. In the email, there will be a link. All you have to do is click the link in the email, and it will automatically log you into our platform. Now, I call that the better way because it does give you access to the question box so that you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there's going to be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, on the fly, but you still want to join the afternoon broadcast live. All you got to do is point your browser to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CFRN. Easy to remember, youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, but we also archive every daily show. And currently there's over 2,100 daily live broadcasts archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to the world of CFRN, it's a great way to get to know who we are, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, because you can scroll back 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2 years, even more. Pick a day at random. And what I'm hoping you'll pick up on right away is the thread of continuity, the thread of connectivity that runs through each and every episode. We're not the guys who change their swing every time we step up to the bat. We've been using the same underlying principles for over a decade. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And the really good news is that our methodology and strategy is fluid across all markets and all time frames. Not just futures, but individual stocks, crypto, even Forex. Without having to change any of the settings on the indicators or altering the strategy in any way at all. So with that said, let's open with a word of prayer in our daily devotional as we do every day. Our scripture today is Psalm 118, verse 5. I will be reading from the Message translation. Pushed to the wall, I called to God. From the wide open spaces, He answered. God's now at my side and I'm not afraid. Who would dare lay a hand on me? God is my strong champion. I flick off my enemies like flies. Far better to take refuge in God than trust in people. Far better to take refuge in God than trust in celebrities. Hemmed in by barbarians, in God's name I rubbed their faces in the dirt. Hemmed in and with no way out. In God's name I rubbed their faces in the dirt. Like swarming bees, like wild prairie fire, they hem me in. But in God's name, I rubbed their faces in the dirt. I was right on the cliff edge, ready to fall, when God grabbed and held me. God is my strength, He's also my song, and now He's my salvation. Hear the shouts, hear the triumph songs in the camp of the saved. The hand of God has turned the tide. The hand of God is raised in victory. The hand of God has turned the tide. And again, it's Psalm 118, verse 5 from the Message translation. Now, over the last few weeks, we've talked about taking control of our thoughts. Because in life, as in trading, often it's the noise in our head that prevents us from really hearing from God or hearing wise counsel. Prior to that, we talked about winning the war in your mind, because the enemy's battleground is quite often your mind. And that's part of that noise swirling around in your head. This week, we're talking about help and hope when you're facing anxiety. God hears. When hard pressed, I cried to the Lord. He brought me into a spacious place. Prayer in times of anxiety can seem impossible. When we do muster the words, it can feel as if we're speaking to the air. We tell ourselves, there's no point in praying. Maybe we think our prayers aren't good enough, or God not interested enough to get a response. And so often we plod through our anxious thoughts, imagining we need to carry the burdens alone. Alone is not how human beings are designed to be. We are relational creatures. made to be known and loved. The Bible has good news. We are never alone. The presence of a God makes a difference, not least to the way we pray. Knowing that God is with us and deeply caring of us means that we can be confident that God delights to hear from us. We can follow the psalmist's lead and cry out to the Lord, and we can do so knowing that He will hear us because He's that big, and He will respond to us because He's that loving. If we're honest, most of us want that spacious place the psalmist mentions to be a place where anxiety is no more. And sometimes in His kindness, the Lord does take our fears away. But it's best to remember that's not the only way God answers prayers. What He wants most for us is for our faith to grow, for our trust in Him to deepen, for us to become more like Christ. And sometimes that happens best when hard things aren't immediately taken away. He does provide for us in the middle of the hard times, though He does sustain us, and He does enable and equip us to persevere. Those are answers to prayers that we all can know. So why not turn to Him now? Whatever it is you're going through, and we're all going through something. With short prayers or long, pour out your heart to Him, knowing that He cares. Tell Him what you would like Him to do for you, and then look forward to Him answering in the ways He knows to be the best. Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, You are the strength of my life. You are my rock, my fortress, and my protector. Therefore, whom shall I be afraid of? You are my shield, my strong tower, and my stronghold. I will call to You because You are worthy to be praised. So, Father, I thank You for being my strength and my God, in whom I trust. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said amen. All right, let me give you the numbers from around the world. I'm going to start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. We had CPI numbers out this morning. We'll talk about that later in the broadcast. But it's starting to look like it was just a big old huge head fake. But we'll see. The session's not over, and we've got the Fed announcement tomorrow. How will Jerome Powell take the data that came in today, along with the other Fed heads, and make their decision as to how much they're going to hike the interest rates tomorrow? All right. Starting in the U.S. with the Dow, we're up 54 points. NASDAQ up 94 points, which is almost 1%. S&P 500 up 24 points. And the Russell 2000 up 15 points, almost 1%. Now that sounds like a great green day, and it is, but when we go to the daily chart in a bit, we are well off the highs of the day. So, in the commodity basket, crude oil up $2.86, trading 76.03 last. That's a gain of almost 4%. Gold up $30.60, trading 18.2290 last. It's a gain of 1.75%. And silver up 56 cents, trading 23.96 last, a gain of 2.5%, or over $2,500 per contract traded. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of 112 points. The Shanghai fell 2.5. The Hang Seng gained 132. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 56. The DAX up 191, which is a gain of over 1.25%. The CAC up 94, which is a gain of 1.5%. So that gave us a mixed day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. And so far, it's still a green Radio Tuesday here in the US of A. So with that, we'll go to Michael if he's ready and get a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. After that, I'll come back. We'll take a look at the big picture. We'll look at the daily charts. We'll look at the 30-minute charts. We'll cover all of the Logic 247 alerts, and we'll look at the concierge trade alerts. And of course, at any point during the broadcast, if you have a question, all you have to do, if you're logged into our platform, all you have to do is type it into the question box. We'll be happy to answer it for you. Now, Valerie just sent me over the recap. So while we're waiting on Michael, let me put it into the proper format here. From my screen, our screens have different resolution, so I have to adjust it just a little bit. Would that be Michael?
That is me.
Okay,
that
guys,
is me.
What we'll do is we'll go ahead and go to Michael right now. He'll give us a recap of the live training room this morning. Then when I come back, we'll look at the logic alerts, the concierge alerts. We'll take that big picture look. We'll see what happened this morning when those CPI numbers came out, and we'll see what's happened since. So,
Yes.
Michael, I can see your charts.
All right. Here we go. Let me bring this up. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is it? Tuesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Tuesday, December 13th. Yeah, it's Tuesday, December 13th. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com. Right here it says sign up for your free 5-day training now, 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern Time. If you're going to take the trial, guys, you should really go to the trading platforms, download your trading platform, look at trade rules. Just look at the rules. This is what I do every morning, over and over again. Again and again and again. Watch the videos. The videos go over everything that I do in the rules on the trading platform over and over again, so you can see it live in real time before you get into the meeting and before you get into the room in the morning, so you know what to expect. Okay. All right. The spreadsheet. So today we had more opportunity than yesterday, and we were able to take advantage of that. All right. Now, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 13th day of December 2022. Today we traded the YM a little bit when my crude oil was not matching up to my DOM and chart. We went to the YM and we made 14 ticks on the YM. We did end up making 74 ticks in crude, 10 ticks in gold, and 56 ticks on the ES. That puts up $1,610 on the morning session. Today it took 6 minutes and one trade to get to the goal for the day. At that point, it was up $110 a contract. And I took a total of 27 trades. So on the month now, it's $7,265 a contract. That's over 9 trading days. And now I'm averaging $807.22 per day per contract on the month. I've gone 235 days out of 235 days this year, getting our goal. And 296 since our last negative day in the room. Those are all business days. Okay. On the year now, we're at $232,611 in the room. In the morning session, it's over 235 business days, averaging $989 per contract per 2-hour business day. It seems like Seems like. I wish this number would have gone up a lot after today's numbers, but yesterday was so low. The average between yesterday and today was actually lower than that. Anyway, if you were to quit trading when you get your goal for the day, that means you set a goal that you can achieve every day. Achievable goal, something you can do over and over and over again. If you were to quit trading after you get that goal, and you were to add one contract per month, that means you have to earn enough money to go to the next contract every month. You've only had to work 40.5 hours so far this year, 40.51 hours, and you would have averaged $4,840 a contract. Now, this number is way off the number that I had since the beginning of the month because I had one column that was wrong. This column was wrong. So this number here, I fixed that column. This number is the correct number. The number that I had since the beginning of the month was off by whatever that column was. Anyway, those are the numbers. Okay, so let's get into the actual trades. Now we'll start out with gold because this trade right here was our only trade in gold. I think, no, we actually had 3 trades, but we had 2 break-even trades. This was the moment in time. This was our first break-even trade. We missed a trade over here. We took a break-even here. We missed a trade here. Took a break-even here. This was the moment in time where I thought it was going to go down, go up, and go down. Instead, it went up, it went down, and down. It did get to the places where I thought it was going to go to. It just didn't do it in the order I thought it was going to do it. This trade, I think we probably recorded it, and we're going to clip that out. The way that this came together was perfect. The markets were moving slow enough that it was able to tell everybody that the low of this bar is 24.0. So 7 ticks higher than that is where the bar is going to close at 24.7. So you can put a buy stop on at 24.8. And right here was a great target number. So put a target up there, 10 ticks above it. And it all just happened just like that. We got the up close at 24.7. It triggered us in at 24.8. And we took profit 10 ticks higher at 25.8. So it all came together perfectly. That was our last trade of the morning in gold. During the break, it looks like there was a trade here and a trade here and another trade triggering right now. And there was one over here that would have been, let's draw the trend line and see. Yeah, I was thinking it'd be from down here. So it was about a 10 tick trade here. There's about a 6 tick trade going on right now. If you were to draw the trend line, it would go like that. So you would have shorted right in here at 19, and you can see right now it's down at 18.4. So 6 ticks is what I said. That was gold today. Crude oil, we had a good number of trades on crude today. Again, my moment of time didn't do what I thought it was going to do. But, I mean, overall it did, but it didn't do exactly what I thought it was going to do when I thought it was going to do it. Our first trade on crude was right here. We picked up 11 ticks. That was our very first trade of the morning. We got 11 ticks on that. The next trade was in here. We had a pretty good trade there. Looks like we had, I think we went from 11 to 31. So 20 ticks right there. And then the one right after that, we picked up another, we went from 31 to 56. So another 25 ticks, it looks like. And then we went from 56 to 63, so 9 more ticks right there. Then we had our moment in time. Again, the moment in time, we were on this bar right here when everything was shut off. And I thought it was going to go down to here, then bounce up to here, then go down to here, and then bounce up to here. So it didn't do any of this stuff right here. It just went straight up to here. It is what it is. It gave, in that process, it gave a long trade there and a long trade there, both of which could have been profitable. A red off a red right in here, and a long trade here that we actually did end up taking. Went from 63 to 74 on that one. So we had 11 ticks profit there. And we had break even there, and that was all we did for the morning session. We had one more blue off a blue right here. This looks like another blue off a blue that ended up working out. And what did that say? Okay, and outs. I think you meant puts, Jack. right in here, there was another trade right here. We had bullish separation, but this was, you didn't have a blue off of blue. Right here, you had a blue off of blue that looks like it would have stopped you out pretty much to the tick and then moved up. I did have one stop out to the tick today. I'll get into that on the ES. Okay, and that was it during the break. So on crude oil, we ended with plus 74 ticks. All right, on the ES, you can see the whole day. I was hoping that this pullback was going to stop right in here somewhere, but it didn't. It just kept going and going and going. I was done 100% retracement back down to where it was. So it's pretty much greased up the wheels for tomorrow. And we have FOMC coming out tomorrow. And so all of this movement up here and back down here, to me, it means there's a lot of, well, a lot of space in here, like woo spot between here and here, and between here and here, here and all the way up here. That there's a lot of room for movement on the upside and on the downside. For those of you guys who are following all the options in the option channel, you know, yesterday I bought some puts to cover the downside in case this morning's news went down instead of up, and I believe those puts are in the money right now, even though I had my calls that I had on Wednesday and Friday last week were way in the money this morning, so I took some profit on those this morning. I still have some of those, and I have the puts from yesterday that I bought that I think we're in profit right now. A quick look at those puts. They are not actually in profit right now, but everything, all the calls that I bought are way up still. So it's all good.
There'll be extreme volatility again tomorrow with the FOMC.
Yep.
So
I'm ready for both ways.
When the dust settles, and as I mentioned this morning in the live training room, often with these economic reports, when we get these huge moves, by the time the dust settles, prices are right back where it was when the news came out. And here's like a picture-perfect example of exactly that.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And we'll see what happens tomorrow as we get into tomorrow. The fact of the matter is tomorrow is the FOMC, so it could do absolutely nothing until tomorrow.
Yeah. It could get quiet. That's right.
And that's, you know, that's okay too. You know, in my little world here in the 7-tick range, you know, doing nothing is usually enough. Doing nothing on a 30-minute is usually enough in the 7-tick range for us to have nice, slow, good, clean trades. You know, when you get really active like this morning, you know, I'm throwing things on there faster than people can see and faster than I can say sometimes. And it's not really conducive to a learning environment. But if you know what you're doing, then you know what you're doing ahead of time. You don't need to hear me saying it. But if you know, if you don't know what you're doing yet, then, you know, days like I imagine the rest of today and probably into tomorrow will probably be a little bit better for the learning environment. But the way it started off today, we had a red off a red right here that I missed, and in here I had a trend line trade that I got to break even on. Then my first trade on the S was right here. We picked up 16 ticks. The next one was over here, red off a red, picked up 3, got me to 19. The next one was right here, trend line trade, got me another 12 to 31. Missed a trade there. Looks like there was nothing in here. We need to get separation down here in the slingshot to take some more. Then we went from 31 in here to 35, it looks like. So I had 4 ticks there. Then a break even. Then another break even. And then I stopped out to the tick. Now, when this trade triggered here, it was a trend line trade. And I was saying that it looks like it's going to pull back up here to this right in the middle of the pullback number was up here right in the middle of the ribbon. And I said, but the target number is right down here. It gave us the trade right here. It didn't give us a trade up here. It gave us a trade here. So I took the trade and then pulled right back up to that pullback number in the ribbon, stopped me out. And then it went right down to the target number, to the tick. I mean, both of those pretty much to the tick. Then it stopped me out. And then I was going over how the context of the market was actually down right here. And this was a pullback in the down context of the market. And it did not exceed the swing high here with any kind of momentum. But it did give us a blue off a blue trade. So I took the blue off a blue, even though the context was still down. I figured we're going to get high enough to get my stop to break even. And I think we did actually get high enough to get my stop to break even. I didn't move it fast enough. You guys remember when that happened? I went to click on it and I was just a second too late to get it to break even. and then it came right back down and stopped me out. So it stopped me out. I had 2 stop outs in a row in opposite directions. One was to the tick, and one was just a true stop out. This one, I did have time to get my stop to break even, but I didn't do it. So that was my fault. And then we followed that up. So we went from 35 to 25 down to 15. And then we got 12 ticks right here to get me back up to 27. Then this was the moment in time, again, the moment in time. Did not do what I thought it was going to do. I thought it was going to go down and then go up to the BBC and then go down to here. And it didn't do any of that. It just went straight up to the BBC and didn't give any trades all through here. It was just a mess until you get all the way over here, 1031. We gave a short in there. Then it became messy again. It didn't give anything until the yes was just really messy all through here. Wow, that's a long time ago with no trades. To have all that movement and not have a valid trade. Here was one right here, a long trade right in there. A short trade right in there. Anyway, gave a whole bunch of movement here during the time that I was doing the moment in time. And when I turned it back on over here, we ended up with a break even. Now at this point, we're at 27. I ended up with a break even there. I picked up 12 ticks there to get me to 39. Then we had a flurry of little trades right here. I missed this right off a red, but I picked up the one right after it. Went from 39 to 43, so we got 4 ticks there. And from 43 to 52. So that's what, 8 ticks. No, 9 ticks. 9 ticks on that one. And then went from 52 to 56. I picked up 4 right there at the very end. You can see that it turned around and gave a blue off a blue right here. And gave a red off a red right here. That would have been a break even. A red off a red right here. That would have worked out. And it really tanked here during the break. I didn't notice that, but it did. It really did. There was a short here, a red off a red there, a red off a red over here. They're both really nice trades. Okay, and so now it is where it is. We're down 100% retracement of this morning's move. Okay, and yesterday afternoon I kept saying if we close up above this, that's what we want to see. And we closed up above it this morning at 0600. And that was all it needed when the news came out at 8:30. Bing. And at that point, when I came in at 9:30 and I looked at where the SPY was opening up, it was a great time to be able to sell some call options that we had. And the puts, again, they still don't have, well, they're still losing money right now, the puts that I bought yesterday. But if it goes down any more, then they'll gain value, and then it'll be a win-win overall. All right, so I ended the ES this morning. Sorry, I ended the ES with plus 56 ticks. Okay, now I have a meeting coming up here in just a few minutes. So let me get this going here. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 13th day of December, 2022. We made 14 ticks. I didn't even show you the YM trades. Yeah, let me do that right quick. One of the trades, my first YM trade I took was because my crude DOM and chart weren't matching up. But the first one that I took, I didn't realize I actually had a 10 tick bracket on. And I put it on, and being like a couple of seconds later, it was 10 ticks in profit. This one over here, I just picked up 4 ticks in profit on. It was a down close, a trend line trade in here that I took and got just 4 ticks. It went all the way down here and then came back up and started to go down again. And I ended up with just 4 ticks in profit on that one. Those were the 14 ticks on the YM that I got today. So back to this. I got 14 ticks on the YM, 74 ticks in crude, 10 ticks in gold, and 56 ticks on the ES. Put us at 1610 on the morning session. Today it took 6 minutes and 1 trade to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $110 a contract. And we took a total of 27 trades. So on the month, we're at $7,265 a contract. That's over 9 trading days, averaging $807 per contract per 2-hour trading day. On the year, we've gotten our goal on 235 out of 235 days. And we've gone 296 days since our last negative day on the year. And that puts us at $232,611 on the year, averaging $989 per contract per 2-hour business day. If you were to quit trading when you get your goal for the day and you were to add 1 contract per month, my goal being $100 profit every day per contract, Right now you'd be trading 12 contracts, but you would have only had to work 40.51 hours this year, and you would have averaged $4,840 per hour. Okay. Now, if you have not taken the free trial, go here to mytradingiq.com. On the page right here, sign up for your free trading. You can click it there. There's a whole bunch of places. Register for the webinar. There's another one down lower. Any one of those places, click it and sign up for the training. Okay, when you do that, you should absolutely come over here and download the trading platform. If you have one of these platforms, great. Just download it and give us the information. Download the indicators and give us the information we need to get them activated for you. If you don't have one of these platforms and you're on Windows, if you're on a desktop, start out with DT Pro is probably the easiest thing. If you're on a Mac, then probably starting out with TradingView would be the easiest thing. Okay, because TradingView is browser based, so you can start out with TradingView on any browser. All right, that's it, guys. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
Yes, sir. I am ready.
Okay.
All right. Recap of the recap.
Today, it took 6 minutes and one trade to get to $110 a contract.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, guys. Here we go. Logic 247. Now, for those who may be new to the world of CFRN, we have our 2-hour live training room every day in an interactive environment where you're trading along with Michael and Valerie as they put on and take off trades, explaining every move they make, every trade they take, and the rule behind it. It's very important that you learn that set of rules, which is, there's not a lot of them. They're carved in stone, and they don't change from day to day depending upon what kind of day it is. We trade every market, every time frame, and every type of trading day exactly the same. So that's your foundational learning. It's like boot camp, okay? So I can't stress enough how important it is to understand the strategy as it's taught to you in the live training room every day. Now, Logic 247 is our 24/7 around the clock Emini alert service that includes also crude, gold, silver, the euro, and bonds. So the world of CFRN doesn't grind to a halt at the end of the live training room. The world of CFRN opens for business Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern and remains open around the clock till Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. One of the reasons we really like futures is because they do trade around the clock, and we have traders around the globe, so our day session is their night session and vice versa. It also makes learning to trade feasible for those who still have a day job. If you're working 9 to 5, it's kind of hard to be knee deep in the stock market when you're supposed to be working. So the beauty of futures is that as the Asia session opens in the evening, volume and volatility start building as we approach the London Open at 3 a.m. Eastern, and then volume and volatility continues increasing right up until the Wall Street Open. The first 30 minutes of Wall Street typically gives the biggest candle of the day, but today would be an exception because we had that high impact news that came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And I'll show you what that looked like on the daily chart here in just a little bit. Now, over the 228 weeks, we've averaged 20% of the alerts or less being stopped out on any given week based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade, less when possible, based on market structure, which we teach all of our lifetime members in their unlimited one-on-one private mentoring sessions. Since the markets opened this week, Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 41 alerts. Since we rolled out Logic 247 228 weeks ago, we've issued over 12,800 individual handcrafted alerts with an entry, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and then in many cases a second, third, fourth, fifth, and a final trade to target. So of the 41 alerts we've issued so far this week, and it's just Tuesday, 8 never triggered, still waiting on the outcome of 3. So we've had 30 actionable alerts, of which 7, or 23%, would have been stopped out based on that maximum risk profile that I just explained to you. Now, what I do with the alerts is built on a 30-minute chart, but execution is still done using a smaller time frame, such as the 7-tick range chart that you see in the live training room every day. The 30-minute chart gives you a little bigger picture look at what's happening in the market, and it can help you to stay on the right side of the street. You know if you should be looking for long trades or short trades, and then you're executing on your smaller time frame. Of the 12,800 plus alerts in the Logic 247 channel, every single one of them is a trend trade as defined by the 30-minute chart and the BBC. And I'll explain what that is in just a few moments. So far, shaping up to be a great week, considering we had rollover Sunday night, Monday morning, where we moved from the December contract into the March contract. That usually creates a few hiccups along the way. Plus, we had that high impact news today, lots of volatility, and then we've got more high impact news tomorrow with the FOMC. That's the granddaddy of economic alerts. So, all in all, as far as Logic 247 goes, things are looking pretty good. Now remember, these alerts are based on current price action. However, I build in time so that you get the alert and have time to go look at your 30-minute chart, so that over time you start to understand why the alert is at the prices, the entry price, the initial target, the secondary, third, fourth target, and then the final trade to target. Over time, you'll learn to spot these windows of opportunity yourself, just like we do, because that's what we teach you how to do. Okay? Michael and Valerie are teaching you the basic execution strategy in the live training room. And if you never move beyond the mechanical model that's taught in the live training room, you can be just fine. You just increase your account size over time and add additional contracts. So, again, current price action with time built in for you to get to your computer, study the alert, study the chart, understand why it's an alert. Because alerts are issued based upon when opportunity presents itself. Okay? All right. Now, our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts, they are a little bit different in a couple of different ways. And let me bring those up to the big screen and show those to you. Now, the CTAs are based on historic price action. Logic is current price action. CTAs are historic price action. When current price action meets historic price action, that's where you'll find some of your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities. Now, when this report is published, if you're a member, it will come to you in the CTA channel. If you're on the trial, it will come to you in the trial alert channel. Posted the report last night at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Once posted, the numbers are good for the entire session until the next set of numbers are published the following evening. Okay, that's Sunday night through Thursday night. Normally I get them out about 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Last night was 7:05 p.m. Eastern. First thing you want to do when the report is published is whatever market you actually trade, go and make note of where price is at this point in time. Typically, that number is going to be, that price is going to be just about in the middle between this number and this number. So then you make a note on your chart of where price it was when the alert came out, and then draw a line in the sand at 40.29 and draw a line in the sand at 39.97, just using the ES as an example. Now from this moment forward, if price gets above the BBC or is above the BBC and starts trending up towards 40.29, our strategy is going to look for opportunities to be long the market. On the other hand, if price is below the BBC and price starts trending down towards 39.97, our strategy is going to look for opportunities to be short the market. In either case, that's where you will rely on Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room every trading day to yourself start to find opportunities to be long or short in the market. Trading is not easy, but it can be simple. And when we go to the charts here in just a moment, you'll see what my lines in the sand look like. And as you start to create your own lines in the sand, well, you can make them look any way you want. They don't have to look exactly like mine, as long as you understand what they're telling you. Before we go to the charts, I've got 10 things you need to know today, the 13th day of December, 2022. Number one, courtesy of CNN and the New York Times, Bahamian authorities on Monday arrested Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX. The move came after U.S. prosecutors filed criminal charges including wire fraud, securities fraud, fraud conspiracy, and money laundering. The New York Times reported, citing a person familiar with the matter, which could be anybody, the government of the Bahamas, where Bankman-Fried and his company were based, said the arrest came in anticipation of an expected U.S. request to extradite the disgraced executive. Bankman-Fried had been set to testify before the House Financial Services Committee about the sudden implosion of FTX, once the world's second largest crypto firm, which caused a run on deposits, or a bank run. The movie we've all seen and hopefully loved, It's a Wonderful Life. Remember what happened there when there was a run on the banks? Yeah, same kind of a thing here, but with crypto, which caused a run on deposits that exposed an $8 billion shortfall in its accounts. Number two, Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, election officials for at least one Atlanta area county and those of Nevada's most populous county have received subpoenas for testimony in Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into former President Donald Trump's effort to overturn his loss to President Biden in the 2020 presidential election. No mention made of Hillary's attempt to overturn her election results. Trump's push to gain electoral votes by challenging state results focused heavily on Georgia. Trump pressured Raffensperger in a January 2 phone call to find thousands of votes he needed to win the state. Smith, appointed last month to oversee the DOJ's Mar-a-Lago investigation and parts of Trump's efforts to retain power, is seeking any and all communications from June through January 2020 to, from, or involving Trump, his campaign, lawyers, and aides, according to the Atlanta Journal and the Associated Press. Again, don't know when they'll start digging into Hillary's attempt to overturn the results. Number 3 from Reuters, Russia continued to hammer eastern and southern Ukraine with missile, artillery, and drone strikes on Monday. Ukraine's military leadership said the intensifying attacks came as the Group of 7 global economic powers vowed to meet Ukraine's urgent requirements to increase its military capabilities and air defenses to fight off Russia's attacks. The promise came after Ukrainian President Zelensky appealed to G7 leaders in a virtual meeting to provide modern tanks and artillery, as well as longer-range missiles to push back Russian forces. Separately, European Union foreign ministers agreed to add $2.1 billion in taxpayer money to a fund intended to strengthen Ukraine's military. And number 4, German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser said in an interview with German newspaper Bildungssonntag that German authorities would work to further tighten gun laws following an alleged coup plot by a far-right group that was foiled last week. Faeser said in the interview published Sunday that the suspects in the case are not harmless crazy people, but suspected terrorists who are now in custody. Police last Wednesday arrested 25 people suspected of participating in a plot to overthrow the government that involved a terrorist organization willing to resort to violence to topple the government. The alleged plotters included members of the extremist Reichsbürger Citizens of the Reich movement, which doesn't recognize the German state. The last time that happened, the movement was headed up by a man named Adolf. That's courtesy of Politico. Number 5 from NBC. As many as 11 million people braced for a massive winter storm as officials announced weather advisories that extended from California to Wisconsin on Monday. The storm had already blanked parts of the Sierra Nevada with up to 4 feet of snow and was headed into the Rockies and northern plains, threatening to hit with blizzard conditions. Parts of the Rockies were expected to get up to a foot of snow and winds gusting to 50 miles per hour. Parts of southwest South Dakota and northwest Nebraska could get 2 feet of snow through Wednesday. This developing storm system will lead to numerous widespread and impactful weather hazards in the heart of the country this week. That's according to the National Weather Service. And even here in the desert in Arizona, it's a little bit chilly. Number 6, U.S. officials rushed to process 800 to 1,000 migrants, most of them from Nicaragua, who crossed into the United States at El Paso, Texas, from Mexico as part of a caravan on Sunday. It was one of the biggest single crossings along the West Texas border in years. Ruben Garcia, the director of the nonprofit Annunciation House, said a very large number of people arrived, a huge number. His group provides shelter to asylum seekers who have been processed and released by U.S. authorities. The number of people attempting to cross from Mexico has increased in the region around El Paso in recent months. Federal agents have recorded 2.4 million encounters along the southern border in a 12-month period, with more around El Paso than any other section of the U.S.-Mexico border. That's courtesy of the El Paso Times and the New York Times. Number 7. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon on Monday dismissed former President Donald Trump's lawsuit challenging the Justice Department's access to documents seized from his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. The move by Cannon, a Trump appointee, formally ended the case 4 days after Trump declined to appeal a higher court ruling, ending a review of the documents by an outside special master. Now this is courtesy of CNBC, but the part I find disturbing is that Trump actually wanted a special master, a quote-unquote non-biased, bipartisan person to come in and review all of this. But they said, oh no, we're not going to let a bipartisan person do this. Cannon signed a one-page order dismissing the case, citing lack of jurisdiction. The Mar-a-Lago raid uncovered more than 100 documents marked classified, and Trump was trying to block access in a criminal inquiry into his handling of classified material. The end of the case clears the path for investigators to examine all documents seized in the Mar-a-Lago search. Can't wait until the Obama Presidential Library is completed so we can see how many documents he took home. Number 8. From the old gray lady, the New York Times, more than 30 years after being imprisoned for a violent crime they did not commit, a group of 5 black and Latino men will have a gate in Central Park named in their honor. According to the New York Times, the gate, which will be known as the Gate of the Exonerated, will pay tribute to the 5 men who were convicted of assaulting and raping a white woman in the park in 1989. They would eventually become known as the Central Park 5, and their trials captivated both New York City and the nation. The 5 men received sentences ranging from 5 to 15 years. Following a series of unsuccessful appeals to their convictions, the men were finally exonerated in 2002 after a serial rapist confessed to the crime. Number 9. From Politico and the New York Times, Russian President Vladimir Putin will not hold his usual year-end news conference for the first time in at least a decade. He gave no reason, but noted that Putin regularly speaks to the press. That's from his press secretary. Putin's wide-ranging, often festive December press conference, which typically lasts 4 hours or longer, has offered a rare chance for foreign reporters outside the Kremlin pool to question him if they are called on. The Kremlin has tried to portray life in Russia as unaffected by the country's invasion of Ukraine, and Kremlin officials are almost certainly extremely sensitive about the possibility of unwanted questions about the war. That's from a tweet from Britain's Defense Ministry. That was tweeted out early this morning. And coming in at number 10. Elon Musk's Twitter on Monday dissolved its Volunteer Trust and Safety Council, an advisory group of civil, human rights, and other organizations. The council was created in 2016 to address concerns about hate speech, child exploitation, suicide, and other safety issues. Council members received the news in an email canceling a scheduled Monday night meeting with Twitter representatives. The email said Twitter was reevaluating how to get outside advice as it moves into a new phase and decided that the Trust and Safety Council is not the best structure to do this. The change came after 3 council members last week resigned, saying that, contrary to claims by Elon Musk, the safety and well-being of Twitter's users are on the decline. That's from NBC and NPR. And, thank God in America we do have free speech. I completely disagree with that last statement. 100%. I also put up a post in the Breeze channel. We have our own social media channel in Telegram. It's called the Breeze. See Valerie for an invitation. 3 tech companies on the hot seat right now. Uber got a boo times 2. Facebook, I mean, you really have to read this article. What they did and how they did it is absolutely unthinkable. And the third company I posted about, Peloton, which, really saw its heyday during the lockdown period with coronavirus. For those who like bottom fishing for good companies whose price has fell for whatever reason, if you're an investor, not a trader, although at the price it's fallen to, it might even be worth day trading. I'm not saying the bottom's in on Peloton. I haven't really dissected the chart yet, but it might be an opportunity if you're looking for something to invest in with risk capital. But as always, as it says at the end of our broadcast each day, always check with a licensed investment professional before making any financial decision. So with all that said, let's head on over to the daily chart. And there's the head fake. Okay, the news came out this morning, and we had a massive green candle that almost made it up to the 62% reverse fib. Remember, we've been in a downtrend since March 29th. The low of the downtrend was put in on October 13th. And as price most recently got back above the BBC, we pulled back to the BBC, and we all know that the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. So then we ran up. Now we're going to have to adjust this, okay? Because we got, even though price was rejected up there, it really did go there. So we want to make our numbers as accurate as possible. Yep. Be just a little bit higher. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay. Now, these are reverse fibs. This is the 50% reverse fib. We managed to get above it a couple times, but each time we failed and came back to that 38% reverse fib. This morning on the run up, we didn't quite make it to the 62% reverse fib. Reality settled in, and price dropped right back to where it was when all the noise started. That's not uncommon when you're having a high impact economic report, which is why we don't really recommend trading economic reports, because it's more like gambling than it is like trading. So, I mean, there it is. A picture paints 1,000 words. I could go on, but you see it. Now, so where does that put resistance? Well, we still have resistance at the 50% reverse fib, and then we have potential resistance at the high of today, and then we've got the 62% reverse fib overhead. Where's support? Well, that's really going to depend on where we close today. We're above red and falling. So if we close above red and falling, and then open tonight above red and falling, that's going to push us to the Wednesday session. If we stay above red and falling until Thursday, that will most likely turn red and falling, which is bearish, into blue and climbing, which is bullish. So, you see how we're not heading straight down with red and falling. Kind of at a little angle here. Okay. Now, right below red and falling, we have the daily BBC, and we know the pullback holds more often than not. So it might be that we come back through red and falling and find support at the daily BBC. If not there, potentially the 24% fib extension, and then back at the 38% reverse fib, 38% fib extension, the 50, the 62, and a 100% move of the entire leg. Okay. All right. Now, why do we look at a daily chart when we don't trade off a daily chart? Because institutional traders, the hedge funds, the Goldman Sachs of the world, they look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I look at 30-minute, 5-minute tick charts and range charts. Why? Well, size matters. Their accounts are denominated in hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, whereas our accounts tend to be denominated in thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So obviously they can withstand a much deeper drawdown than you or I might, and they can stay with a profitable position longer than you or I might be comfortable with or able to, because day margins, if you hold a position across that 1 hour period, because the futures market will close today at 5 p.m. Eastern, but it will reopen tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's the beginning of the Wednesday session, even though it's still Tuesday night here in the U.S. And so if you hold a position open during that 1 hour period, when the markets reopen, you will be subjected to a much, much, much higher margin rate. And unless you've got the money in your account, you will get a margin call. So my recommendation always is to our traders, be flat before the futures market closes. You know, be safe, get out about 4:45 p.m. Eastern. And then if you want to open a position once the markets reopen, you'll have access to lower margins. So, you know, it's the rare case where I could justify holding a position across that 1 hour period or over a weekend. Okay. Remember, we only need 2 points a day out of the S&P, and we can have time and freedom, live the life God created us to live, do the things He created us to do. You don't have to work around the clock once you understand how to trade. And that's what we're all about, helping you become self-sufficient. We provide you with the knowledge, the training, the tools, the one-on-one mentoring, and every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, you're given the weekly trading zones, which as we go to the charts, you'll see what an important tool they become in your trading toolbox. And when you become a lifetime member, you will have lifetime access to the weekly trading zones and the indicators and the live training room and everything else we offer. And as a lifetime member, you're never subject to any type of recurring fees. There's never any upsells. There's never any new shiny objects to buy. We actually mean lifetime when we say lifetime. And when we talk about the one-on-one mentoring sessions, we call those unlimited. We really mean unlimited. There's no caveat. Well, it's unlimited up to 2 a week, or no, it's when you need help. New traders, those who first become members, will often book, a couple sessions a week. Maybe one with me, one with Michael, or 2 with Michael, 2 with me, whatever. And then over time, as you get a handle on things, then it drops off to, once a week or every other week, or just whenever you hit a rough patch in the road. It's a tremendous amount of comfort to know that there's somebody you can meet with, share screens, go over the trades that caused you trouble, and figure out what happened. Was it something you didn't see, something you should have seen? Was it just that the market conditions weren't suitable for trading at that moment in time? We'll help you troubleshoot it, figure it out, and once you have your confidence back, if you've already started trading live, in other words with real money, then you pick up right where you left off once you have your confidence back. In the beginning, as a passport holder, you'll get a 24/20 blueprint. It's designed to help you to go from 1 to 20 contracts over a period of 24 months. But first, before you start trading real money, we want you to put together 10 consecutive days in a row in the simulator with live data where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less. This lets you know that you actually understand and know how to use the strategy and the indicators. Once you put together those 10 consecutive days, the blueprint gives you the green light to go live with 1 contract. Then your goal is to increase your account balance by $2,000. Once you do that, the blueprint will give you the green light to add the 2nd contract. The big difference between your first and second contract is the first contract is underwritten with your startup capital, but the second contract is funded with profit you earned in the market. The blueprint will always tell you when it's time to add another 3, number 4, number 5, number 10, all the way up to number 20. By that time, you've got the hang of it. But the key is you only go live once you qualify to go live, and you only add 1 contract at a time, and you only add additional contracts with profit you earn in the market. If you have the self-discipline to follow that formula, it makes it much more difficult to blow up an account. Now, while we can give you the knowledge and the tools and all of that, 2 things we can't give you is patience and self-discipline. But let me assure you, those are 2 things you need if you are ever going to trade for a living. God can help you with those. And in a one-on-one mentoring session, I can offer you some tips and tricks and whatnot to help build your patience and self-discipline. But ultimately, that part has to come from within. So, we know the big picture. We know what the institutional money did today. They ran the market up on the news, and then they took their profits and dumped and left a whole lot of retail traders holding the bag. 30-minute chart of the S&P. Okay, when I showed you the CTA numbers earlier and gave you a chance to get a screenshot, I talked about my lines in the sand. Okay, there's 40.29, there's 39.97. 40.29, 39.97. Now the vertical line on the chart separates today, Tuesday, from yesterday, Monday. And let me shrink this down a little more so we can get it all in the picture. Okay. Here's where the market opened, and then red and falling, turned to blue and climbing. And this candle opened at 40.24, and then it ran to the target at 40.29. That's 5 points. The CTA should be thought of first as a target, and then once price moves through the CTA number, then you can start to think of it as an entry. Okay? Most days, just like this, you'll have an opportunity to get your goal for the day before price even gets to the CTA number. Once you understand what direction you should be trading in and why, and how to use both your 30-minute chart and your smaller time frame execution chart. So we got rejected. Well, this ran up 1 3/4 points. Now, once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability of it triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times. Some days we'll see 2 triggers, 3 triggers, 4 triggers, 10. Depends on the day. Okay. So this next run up took us to 32 1/4. So that's 3 1/4 points. And then back below the trigger, up again. This time to 40.33. That's 4 points. $50 a point, $200 per contract traded. And then back below, pull back to the BBC held. It holds more often than not. And then the next trigger took us all the way up to the published trade to target. From 29 to 43, that's 14 points at $50 a point. Hey Alexa, what's 14 times 50?
14 times 50 is 700. By the way, you can thank the
$700 per contract traded.
share your appreciation with them.
Now, when price
Thank my driver.
moves up to a weekly trading zone, only 3 things happen. The thing you'll see 70% of the time is consolidation. See how you had 4 30-minute candles right at the zone. Now these zones were published yesterday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. We've published the zones for our members since December 14th of 2009. And then once you become a member, a lifetime member, you'll have access to the weekly trading zones every week for life. So price continued to run on those CPI numbers until the big boys shot each other a memo and said, ready to pull the plug? Everybody said, sure. Now, understand it takes financial commitment for price to rise. But all that it takes for price to fall is for the buyers to just stop buying. I don't mean permanently. I just mean for a minute. And so price retraces the entire move up. The news came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, and the market began the move because, well, institutions sometimes know things you and I might not know, okay? Which again is why trading economic numbers is more gambling, in my opinion, than it is trading, okay? You're rolling the dice, see what happens. It's not really trading. So price has now come back to the weekly zone where it's found support and is consolidating. I said only 3 things happen at a zone. Consolidation is the most common. The second most common is rejection. I'll show you that when we come across it. The third and least likely is the slice, and this sliced through, but it was, I'll tell you what typically happens in a normal market when there's no economic fuel being thrown on the fire. When price slices through a zone like that, what typically happens is it retraces back to the zone it sliced through and then continues in the direction of the slice. Okay? But today was a little bit different story, and tomorrow afternoon is going to be a little bit different story. Now, price did duck back below the trigger again after triggering 1, 2, 3, 4 profitable times. Triggered again, but not all triggers are created equal. You see, we only go long above the BBC when we're talking about the alerts. And because price moves so high, the BBC itself has moved up. And so I actually put out an alert this morning to short both, I think, the Dow and the S&P back down to the zone below. Or it might have been the S&P and the Russell. You have access to the channel, so you can check it out if you're on the trial or if you're a member. Okay? And it did the deal. Came right back to the zone. But we wouldn't consider this a valid trigger because price, on the long side, because price is below the BBC. So once price was below the BBC, that's when I issued the short alert down to the zone. Okay? That's the story of the S&P. On the Dow. Now, the indices are all going to look a lot the same because they almost always do. Most every day. All right. So here we go. It was 7 o'clock last night when we got the numbers out. 7:05. It was in the life of this candle. However, you had red and falling overhead. So, not really too excited about that. Okay? Don't want to buy into what is obviously potential support. Resistance. See here? Price did run up to the target, but then it backed off. Red and falling, pushed it down, but price overcame from 34,290. It ran up to 319. So that's almost $150 per contract traded. Then it got back below the trigger. Red and falling has turned to blue and climbing already. And so we run up to 325. So that's 35 points at $5 a point. And then back below the trigger. And then we run up to the published target at 340. So that's 50 points at $5 a point. $250 per contract traded. And then price just kept running. And although we overshot this zone, it is where the market made its turn. And this inside doji here on the 30-minute chart was a good indication that this was coming. Also, when the step line, the black line, crosses from the left side to the right side, blue and climbing, that tells you that blue and climbing is on its way to turning into red and falling, and that price is going to attempt to pull back to the BBC. Now, while the pullback holds more often than it doesn't, again and again and again and again, we know eventually it won't hold. That keeps the market fluid and tradable. So as we closed below the BBC, what do? We pulled back to the BBC, and the pullback held. And down we go. And as we pull back up here, price makes it up to the BBC. We expect that to be good resistance because we're below it. And that should give us a leg back down to the zone. On the Russell. The Russell found its resistance right at a weekly trading zone. In fact, that's the highest zone for the week for the Russell. So the market's opened here Came down to the BBC, the pullback held, it holds more often than not. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing, and this candle here opened at 33.5 and ran up to 36.5. So $150 per contract traded in a 30-minute candle. And then we pulled back to the BBC, the pullback held, and it took us right up to the target. Remember, the first time up, it's target. Once it gets penetrated, like it did on this candle, now it becomes an entry. So from 1839, we ran to 52. So that's what, 13 points? Yeah, at $50 a point. Now, as you become more comfortable and familiar with the strategy and the indicators, just because this was the trade to target doesn't mean, now, let me again say, you were able to get your goal for the day way back here. So, you know, you could be out doing life and not even worrying about any of this because you already got your money back here or here, okay? But if you want to stay with this kind of a move, right? Price, step line, blue and climbing, BBC. But at this zone, you got to expect resistance. And that's what we got. So down we come, and as down we come, the step line gets on the other side of blue and climbing, turns to red and falling. Price trades below the BBC, but then the pull up to the BBC holds, because it holds more often than not. And then we went down to the trigger, the CTA number, and we did dip below it, and we did trigger again. But it's not a trade we would recommend taking, even though it did exactly what we expected to do. The simple fact that price is below the BBC, I'm not looking to execute long trades. Now, BBC just stands for bull bear cross. Okay? When price crosses below that green line, we're bearish. We anticipate lower prices. When price gets back above the green line, we're bullish and we anticipate higher prices. And along the way, each pull back to the BBC, as I've said, no matter which side it's pulling back from, it holds more often than it doesn't. That alone is enough once you truly understand it. And once you truly understand that price flows the same across every market and every time frame. Every futures market, every stock, every crypto, every forex pair, from a 1-minute chart to a monthly chart, tick charts, range charts, doesn't matter. We're not teaching you how to trade a specific market. We're teaching you how to read the chart and how to trade. Once you understand how to use the indicators and how to trade, then you can go and trade wherever you see opportunity. And that's what else we teach you, is how to learn to spot opportunity in the market. So if the market you like to trade isn't giving you an opportunity, then all you have to do is just go look at a different market. You can see I've got all the futures markets lined up across the bottom. And if every one of those was flat and not a single one of them was giving you any opportunity, then you could go on the TradingView platform, look at individual stocks, find a stock that suits your fancy, or a crypto pair, or a forex pair. Okay. So once triggered at 1839, we made the run to 1852, found resistance at the zone. Got back below the zone. Now we're at the BBC with red and falling overhead. So the next logical move for the markets is actually to the downside. And you say, but we're printing a green candle. Well, the zone's 1852/53. So price hasn't really broken away from the zone yet. If it does break away, then your next area for potential resistance is right at red and falling. Above that would be these two double tops right here. And then this high. And if the institutional buyers decide to try to pull this off again, it could overcome all of those. You have to embrace all possibilities. But once you understand how markets work and how price flows across all markets and all time frames, you can then apply logic or common sense. You're never going to find a holy grail that will tell you with 100% certainty what's going to happen next in the market. It not only doesn't exist, it can exist, because it would defy the laws of science, physics, even the laws of God. Man was not given the ability to change the past or know the future. And all the indicators and oscillators and algorithms in the world cannot tell you what's going to happen next in the market with 100% accurate consistency. It's just not possible. There's too many variables. The variables being the tens of thousands of traders around the world trading, from retail traders to institutional traders. You never know when one of them is just going to get up and walk away from the table, take a bathroom break, pull their bid, pull their ask, whatever. You don't know. No one can know. Most traders, especially on the retail side, don't even know what they're going to do next. So, you see how it's impossible? So if you're Googling at night till your fingers bleed, looking for something that will prevent you from ever knowing the agony of being stopped out again, man, save yourself some time and treasure, because it does not and cannot exist. However, you can know with a great degree of certainty what the next high probability move is. Remember, in the Logic 247 alert channel, over 12,800 individual alerts. And on average, 20% or less are stopped out on any given week based on that risk profile I explained to you earlier. Looked like it was going to rally. But you got to remember, the pullback holds more often than not. And what was a green candle has now become a red candle. So I did not know what would happen next, but I knew that the most logical thing was for another move to the downside. And that's what we're getting. And while I say logical now, you'll learn it as logic and as a logical thing. But after a period of time, that logic just kind of becomes common sense, because you know how the markets work. You know how price flows. And it hasn't changed since the inception of the markets. And it'll continue to be that way until the market cease to exist, because that's how markets work. All right, NQ probably looks a lot the same. Well, by Jove, it does. I never did meet Mr. Jove, but I've heard a lot about him. Okay. Price came out, boom, price ran up to the target, boom, then it triggered. We're on the NQ, which pays 20 bucks a point. This will move right here from 38 to 51. It's a couple $100 per contract traded. Then price gets back below the trigger, and it runs all way to the published target. From 838 to 945. It's a $2,000 per contract move. It's over 100 points. 100 points times $20 a point is $2,000 per contract traded. And then it continued up to the next zone, spiked it, and then reversed. And sent price right back to where it was before the economic report came out. And as you can see, we came through the BBC here, and then the pullback held. And that took us back down to the important price, important area. And now it's pulled up, and it looks to be holding again. So again, logic tells us the next tradable move is going to be to the downside. Okay? And in one-on-one mentoring sessions, I'll show you how to find these pockets or windows of opportunity. Okay? You use your 30-minute chart as your roadmap, okay, so that you know which way the wind's blowing. And then you use your smaller time frame to actually execute the trade, to time your entry, and to set your stop with the minimal amount of risk required to take the trade. From 838 to 1248, that's 400 points. That's over $8,000 per contract traded. But remember, in the beginning, when you're learning, your goal's $100 a day. Until you've increased your live account balance by $2,000, the blueprint will then notify you it's okay to add number 2 with the profits you earned in the market, then number 3, then number 4. Okay, so I mean, there's 2 ways to trade the market. You know, trade one contract and hope for some ginormous move like this, which you'll get occasionally, and hopefully you'll be on the right side. Or make $100 per contract per day, and as your account size grows, keep adding contracts one at a time when it's time, with profit you earn in the market. And then you don't need a ginormous move. You just need the market to move 2 points in the S&P, 5 points in the NQ, 2 points in the Russell, 20 points in the Dow. Okay, let's go to crude oil. Okay, here's where the market opened. Red and falling, turned to blue and climbing. We're well above the BBC. So this candle right here, it opened at 73.47 and ran up over $400 per contract traded. Then we get a little pullback, and then we get about another $400 per contract candle. And then we pull back to blue and climbing, find support. You'll get another trigger, takes us up to 74.28. It's $180 per contract traded. Then we get back below the trigger, and this time we run up to 74.54. It's $440 per contract traded. Then we get back below the trigger, but now we got red and falling right at that number, so we don't want to take that long trade. We want to wait for red and falling to turn back to blue and climbing, and boom, from the published entry to the published target, $500 per contract traded. Now you'll notice, look at how widespread the step line and blue and climbing are. But you see what's about to happen right here? The step line is in the process of crossing blue and climbing. That tells you the price is going to attempt to pull back to the BBC. Now in this case, the pull, because we're pulling back from above, we expect support. And logic tells us that if we're patient and wait for the pullback to complete, then our next high probability, low risk opportunity will be on the long side. unless price gets below the BBC, then we'll be looking for short entries. Okay. Gold. Here's where the market opened. We get above blue and climbing. This candle opened at 94.5 and ran up to 97. So $240 per contract traded. So you could have been one and done on this candle last night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And then price dips below, and then off we go with blue and climbing, and you got that same opportunity again. And then price actually trades through the target at 17.98 and takes us up to 99.5, $150 per contract traded. Then we get back below the trigger. This time we run to the target from 98 to 1801. That's $300 per contract traded. And then it ran right up to the next zone, which is another $800 per contract traded. And then it ran up to the next zone, which is another $700 per contract traded. And then it ran up to the next zone, which is another $900 per contract traded. And then it ground to a halt at 1836. Hey Alexa, what's 1836 minus 1798?
1,836 minus 1,798 is 38.
That's a $3,800 per contract move. But again, you could have been done for the day right here. We're here. We're here. Silver. When silver moves $1, it's worth $5,000 per contract traded. When crude moves $1, it's worth $1,000 per contract traded. When gold moves $1, it's worth $100 per contract traded. So here's where the market opened, and we get above the weekly zone, which is 2357/58, and from 58 to 61, that's $150 per contract traded. And then from 58 to 63, remember it's a target first, 58 to 63, it's $250 per contract traded. And then from 63, it actually traded up to 65, half, $100 per contract traded. But it actually kept going to 2370, it's $350 per contract traded. Then we pull back to the BBC in the zone. The pullback holds. And this time we put in a high at 2373. That's 10 pennies, $500 per contract traded. Then we get back below the trigger, but we don't want this one because we got red and falling. Let it turn to blue and climbing. And then this trigger takes you from 63 to 96. So that would be 33 pennies. We'll call it $1,600 per contract traded. And then it ran to 24.28. From 23.40, where we were yesterday afternoon, to 24.40, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. The euro. This is where we opened And we had a couple little triggers, a little bit of money there. Okay. And we made the move to the target. Oh, I'm sorry, that's ES. I'm looking for the euro. How about that? Here's where price opens, and on the way to the target, goal for the day. And then we actually triggered here. And then again, goal for the day. And then again, go for a couple weeks if you stayed with it. I didn't, I wouldn't. Okay. But it's your trading business. So when you write your business plan and your trading plan, you're gonna define in writing, with the help of the blueprint, what kind of trader you want to be. When I interview a would-be trader, I say, well, what's your financial goal? I want to make some money. Okay, how much money? Well, a lot. I go, those aren't the answers I'm looking for. What do you need to make per day to, cover your bills, or per week or per month, to cover your bills and to, put away money for college and savings and all of this. And so now we're talking about a real number. So we create a business plan that tells us if we are able to take 2 points a day out of the S&P, or 10 ticks a day out of crude, or 10 ticks a day out of 10 ticks a day out of gold, as examples. How long will it take you to get to that point where you're earning what you need to earn? Now, there's going to be some hiccups along the way, a couple skinned knees, maybe a bruised nose. Winners don't quit. Okay? Market's not out to get you. There's no conspiracy. It seems that way sometimes, but it's not true. The market doesn't even know you and I exist, but the market's always right. That's why our strategy is not designed to outsmart the market or beat the market. Our strategy is designed to help you see what the market's doing so that you can do the same thing long enough to reach your goal for the day and be done. And whatever happens after that, it's not even relevant because you got your goal for the day. That's all that matters to you. And the market is always right. So if we simply do what the market's doing, we'll be okay. Our strategy and indicators help you do that. And the last market, the bonds. Never triggered on the short side for the CTA. Triggered the long side. 130.01 up to 132.13. That is a nice chunk of change for a bond trader. I personally don't trade bonds, but I do the numbers for those of our members who do trade bonds. Same with the euro. Okay. So that brings us all the way around the world. Back to the daily chart. It doesn't look like things have changed very much. ES, putting in that down move that we anticipate. Now keep in mind, we're coming down into a zone, so you got to anticipate support there. Same thing on the Dow. So let price get below that step line before you start shorting the market. Okay, get below the zone, get below the step line, and you got a nice window of opportunity here. And I'll teach you how to find those in one-on-one mentoring sessions, which our members have unlimited access to. 9 out of 10 traders fail because they don't have a teacher. You've got one. 2 hours a day, every trading day. interactive environment. They're taking off trades, explaining every move they make, every trade they take, the rule behind it, while you trade along and ask questions and get answers live in real time. 9 out of 10 traders don't even know they need a business plan and a trading plan. But our traders do, and the blueprint helps you create them. The strategy that we teach you, the indicators you own for life, are fluid across every market, every stock, from a 1-minute chart to a monthly chart and anything in between. And as a passport holder, you will receive the Logic 247 alerts around the clock in the Telegram channel. You'll receive the concierge trade alerts each evening when they're published. You'll receive an invitation to the members only workshop every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. All that and much more. It truly is everything a trader needs, all under one roof, at one low price. There are people in this audience today who lost more money than what it costs to learn how to trade. Now you get your passport right here, eminifuturestrading.com. A couple mouse clicks is all it takes. If you have any questions, or if you're shopping for some kind of holiday discount, ho, 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 you would have to call Valerie about that at 949-42-EMINI. Or you can always email support@cfrn.net. Or you can hit us up in Telegram and probably in most cases get a semi-instantaneous answer. Okay? All right, let's wrap this up with our good word for the day. For the last few days, we've been using the acronym SHAPE. You know, as in shape up or ship out. Yesterday, we were all the way up to the letter P, personality. Today will be the final letter of that acronym, E. Romans 12:2. Then you will learn to know God's will for you. The letter E stands for experience. How can you know God's will for your life? Paul answers in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. The word transform means to change in shape. How is a diamond formed? It's the result of unrelenting pressure over a long period of time. Your life's experiences will point you towards your life's purpose. God never wastes pain. Psalm 119:67. I used to wander off until you disciplined me, but now I closely follow your word. My suffering was good for me, for it taught me to pay attention to your decrees. How do we learn to do what's right? By experiencing the pain of doing what's wrong. Paul said, now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. Philippians 1:12. This is the letter of the church at Philippi, written while Paul was in chains in prison. Then he adds, I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage, so that now, as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. The reverse side of a tapestry. And you may have a tapestry hanging on your wall somewhere in your home or office. But flip it over and look at the other side. The reverse side of a tapestry looks like a tangled mess of threads. But that's what it takes to produce a picture of beauty, order, and value. Are you getting the idea? I encourage you, re-examine your life's experiences. Look over your shoulder, and all those times that you were confused and upset and discouraged and challenged, you'll be able to see with spiritual eyes what God was doing. And what He did in the past, He'll do in the future. So the next time you're going through something, whatever that something is, know that God is working on your behalf. All things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So if your life seems like a tangled mess of threads right now, that's a work in process. But the day will come when you flip that beauty over and see the beauty. And that's a good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.